when it comes to vaccine mandates. Coles, one of the biggest employers in the country, of course, has finally scrapped its vaccine mandate. Never should have had it. Then they should have scrapped it 6 months, a year ago, but now, at last, they've gotten rid of their mandate. In a statement, Coles says it will no longer require vaccination for team members at their stores, distribution centres or other sites, a ruling in place since yesterday. But Coles goes on to say the evidence supporting the safety and effectiveness of vaccines has not changed, and they continue to strongly encourage their use. Well, that's a little disingenuous, don't you think? I mean, there never was any evidence that vaccines stop the spread of the disease. There were only claims. So sure, the evidence hasn't changed. It's just that there never was any evidence for mandates. Mandates were never justified. Vaccines help individuals avoid severe symptoms, for sure, but they do not stop infection and transmission, which is why mandates are pointless and wrong, and it's time to end all mandates. And we still need that Royal Commission into the pandemic response, don't we?
Spot on, Chris, and you summed it up really well in that intro there. It is, of course, welcome news, but it is staggering that it's taken Coles this long, and it's staggering that there are still some businesses out there that are still pursuing these ridiculous policies. You're absolutely right. There was never a scientific basis for this. It was anti-science. We've been calling it out, and credit to you for calling it out for a long period of time, 18 months or 2 years, I think. You and a handful of other brave journalists who are prepared to tell the truth. Adam Crichton from The Oz and Frank Chung from news.com.au have done very, very good jobs on this, but it's been against the tide the whole way along. There was never any evidence. We've now seen the New South Wales Premier actually admit that as well. It is staggering that it's still going on. I mean, in my mind, this is one of the greatest scandals in our nation's history. People have been hurt by this. They've had to choose between their jobs and a vaccination. And if people out there still don't get it, that they were completely hoodwinked on this, they need to understand that this was always a nonsense. Anyone that still thinks mandates are a good idea is a nitwit.
Yeah, and they're still hurting, Alex. As you know, there are firefighters, there are nurses, there are paramedics who are still kept from their jobs by these mandates. What can you do in the federal parliament to try and get a change on these mandates, to try and force the hand? And secondly, are you going to push for a Federal Royal Commission into the pandemic response?
Yeah, well, let's start with the first one. Yes, I've been calling for it, as have many other members of Parliament, for a long period of time. Royal Commission, a proper Royal Commission, not one that's designed to protect political allies, but one that actually wants to go into this on some sort of deep dive, is absolutely essential, non-negotiable in my mind. So yes, I will keep doing that. In relation to what we can do now, there have been several attempts over the course of the last 18 months to try to provide protection for people who have been affected by mandates. You know, you can walk into a shop today here in South Australia or anywhere in the country and issue proceedings against someone if they discriminate against you because of your race or your sexual orientation or a whole range of things. But if your employer discriminates against you because of your medical choices, there's no protection for that. So there have been attempts from One Nation a couple of times, and I crossed the floor to support that the bill to try and bring in protections against vaccine discrimination for COVID-19 vaccinations. And Senator Matt Canavan, myself, and Senator Gerard Rennick and Senator Babbitt from the UAP have joined forces to reintroduce that vaccine discrimination bill as an amendment to the Fair Work Act. It's going to go before the Employment and Education Committee for submissions. Get online, have a look at it, make some submissions, and blow the whistle on any businesses that are still up to this nonsense.